How we doing today, neighbors? Ian with eTrailer here, and today we're going to be taking a look at and installing the Outlander soft top on our 2024 Jeep Gladiator. Let's go over a few reasons you may want a soft top like this, and then we'll take care of the install. Now, the Jeep Gladiator is going to be the best of both worlds. You've got a very sturdy off-roading platform and a truck to be able to haul anything out to the campsite or anywhere you may need to take it with you. And this soft topper is going to be a great option to allow you to have both. With this soft topper, you still get the protection without the limitations like you would have with a tonneau cover, where it's just going to cut you off right at the bed. You can still have taller items in here or more stacked items in here without having to give up that extra space. And then the best part of this particular soft cover is, even if you wanted to utilize the entire bed for something taller than this soft top cover, it's going to push all the way forward, allowing you to put those taller items in the bed just without that protection of them being covered. Like most soft tops that you'll see for the Gladiator, it is a weather-resistant vinyl, which is going to help keep all your items dry and safe in the back of the vehicle. It does feature a window on the front towards the cab that is clear, and one at the rear of the vehicle that's clear, so that way you can see through when you have the topper on, whereas on the side panels they do feature a more tinted vinyl that's going to reduce the amount of sun getting into the bed, keeping your items nice and cool. Now, when it comes to the vinyl soft tops, they are going to be a little bit more difficult just to get everything in place. With the hard tops, normally this rear hatch is going to be strut assisted, so it's going to do all the work as far as opening up for you, where with this it's just held with a tension bar, and we'll have to roll all that up, and I'm going to show you all the features there of that. When it comes to these, they are just normally held by zippers, and then, like I said, that tension bar, so the retention points are going to be a little bit different than what you would see with a more premium hardtop option. Now, if we wanted to use the rear hatch here, what we can do is come to each side and unzip all the way up on each side, and that's going to allow us to open up the tailgate here, grab our tension bar and give that a good pull on each side, and then we'll be able to roll the rear window up, giving us access to the bed from the rear here. And then that cover is just going to be held by a couple G-style rings that will clip directly to these webbing loops at the top of the cover. Now, with this rolled up, we can utilize the back of the bed, get anything out that we would need to. The best thing I would suggest, especially with this soft topper in particular, is if you're going to be using the back of the bed, maybe you've got a cooler back here that you're just taking up to go get some ice, I would just leave this rolled up. It's just going to be a little bit inconvenient when it comes to trying to get that spacer bar back in place and push it all back in there. And just because the tension on it is a little tough to get past the retention blocks here at the end. So it's just something to keep in mind, but very, very common with soft toppers, but nothing that would turn me away from wanting to purchase it. Now, as I had mentioned, if you've got items that are going to be taller than the cover, this soft top is going to offer that convenience of being able to fold this up completely. And that's going to be as easy as just coming to each of the side panels and getting those removed to start. So those are just hook and loop fasten covered zippers, both on the sides and on top here. And then on the bottom of the panels, how those are held in, it actually just has a little tab that's going to sit inside of the rail right there on the cover, so that's how it keeps that tension on the bottom of these flaps. And with the side panels removed, we'll loosen up the wing nut here at the very back and bottom of the cover, and then pull the tension point there, allowing us to swing that arm loose. So when we do that on each side, once we've got them loose, we can actually secure those directly to the rail system via the little hook and loop webbing right here. We can remove that channel for these back panels just by pulling down and unlocking it away. And then you don't have to do this from the bed of the vehicle, but I'm just going to get up here for video purposes to be able to show this folding towards the front of the vehicle. One thing you just kind of have to pay attention to as you're folding up is each section, making sure they fold up in the proper sequence. Once all that's in place, we have additional hook and loop fasteners that we can use to secure all of the rails here at the front of the bed. And one more thing, before you hit the road, you will want to take another G-strap that's going to be down below the entire assembly coming from the rear of the vehicle here, and we will hook that up so we've got one more secure point other than those hook and loops, keeping that in place for you to travel. And with that secured up, we now have access to be able to put any taller items back here, be it a refrigerator or anything like that. So you can still utilize all of the truck capabilities that your Gladiator is going to have, but keep that convenience of a topper when in use. Now with this SOP topper all the way up, we do have access to quite a bit of the bed, but if we needed a little bit more, it's very easy to remove this topper. You just put it back into the fully open configuration, and then there's only 4 clamps that are holding this to either your trail rail system on your Gladiator or directly to the bed. So it's going to be very easy to remove, especially if you're someone who likes to take your soft topper off during the winter time to avoid any type of early or premature deterioration caused by that weather change. Now, even with it folded up, if you needed more access to the bed, it's going to be extremely easy to take this entire system off. We would just open it back up to its fully open position, and then there's a set of 2 clamps on each side of the bed, totaling 4 clamps that we would remove, and they're either going to be attached to your trail rail system on your Gladiator or directly to the bed. Now, that's going to be another benefit if you happen to be putting this topper on only during the winter months or something like that, so that way you've got good coverage in inclement weather. With all that said, I'm going to walk you through the installation of this, and when it's shipped to you, it's going to come in sections, and you'll have to assemble all the sections. I would highly suggest assembling the entire topper, having it in its fully open position, and then lifting that onto the truck like we're going to be doing. But if you do happen to watch the video and think to yourself, I don't want to try to tackle this, I'd rather have somebody else do it, please do check out that dealer locator on our website. We can help find a trained professional in your area that can get this installed for you. But for all those DIYers, let's go ahead and hop into it and I'll walk you through. Now, before we begin the installation, we do want to identify whether your vehicle is going to have the trail rails like we've got in our Gladiator here today, or if you've just got the bed, and which clamps to use when installing the cover here. So if you do have the trail rails, you're going to have an end that looks like this that will be able to slide into the channel of those trail rails. And if you're just going to be going directly to the bed and you don't have those rails, you'll just be using these as the bottom of the clamp like that, opposed to these lock in to the channel type. We do want to remove any accessories that we have on the trail rail. We'll be able to slide those back into place as we move along through installing the clamps for the track. We're going to have 2 clamps per side, and to make our lives a little easier, I did just go ahead and take the bolt completely out, just unthread that. And we're going to take the channel part here and slide into the rails. You may have your rails set up a little bit differently where the opening for the channel's at the rear of the vehicle. Here, for ours, it is at the front. So for now, we're just going to slide this towards the back, kind of have that lined up where we'd like it, and then that's when we can reinstall any of our accessories in between that. If you've got any of these hook fasteners, that would be the time to go ahead and throw one of those in as well. Plus, that'll give us an idea if we're going to be making contact with where we're going to be putting any of the clamps. This one's got some retainers from an older cover, it looks like, or something along those lines. So we're just going to have to adapt along with that and find a good channel for everything to live. So I'm thinking for our rearmost one, right about here, but again, we can adjust as needed. Now we want our other anchor point in between the rearmost and the frontmost clamps, so we'll install that other anchor. Again, we can adjust as needed as we go along, but we'll just get that set in here for now. So normally this is where we would install this foam strip here on the front of the bed, but the neighbors requested this time that we don't put any adhesives on the bed, so we're going to be skipping that step, but I wanted to talk to it a little bit. Before this is stuck to the front of your bed, you'll want to come through with rubbing alcohol and a clean rag to get any debris or dust or anything that would cause the adhesive not to stick properly there. It's just going to give you an extra piece of weather stripping to help seal up the topper once it's on. Now once we've got the clamps on both sides and everything in place, we're going to go ahead and pick up our topper. I've got an extra pair of hands, Jesse helping me out here. So just lift that up very carefully and we'll set that in place. And for now, just kind of square it up roughly because we'll have to see where we're going to be able to put the clamps. Now we can double check the placement of the bottom of the clamp we've got in the rail, kind of get an idea of how specifically we want all this to line up. We do want one clamp at the rearmost position we can get and then one at the frontmost. So for now we're just going to go hand tight with these because we are going to come back with a torque wrench and torque those to a specification. The bolts will have a flat washer and a flange washer on them, and you just want to make sure those are in place before you go to tighten anything down. One thing you will want to make sure is that the foot on the clamp is sitting flush with your topper. And once you've got one side in place as far as the clamps, just hop over to the other side and repeat the same procedure, kind of using the same measurements that you did on the other just to keep it even. And sometimes while you're putting the clamps on, you may find that your alignment is completely off. That's the best time just to have all your clamps loose, even if you just don't put the top on one side, and then we'll shift it either left or right according to what we need to get that to line up. So now we're going to tighten up all the hardware with a torque wrench to the torque specification shown in the instruction manual. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can pick one up along with your order for your topper, or you can head down to that local parts store and they'll normally rent one out for you. So just follow the instruction guide as far as that torque spec, and it is a 9/16 socket to be able to tighten these up. Just want to hold those nice and square while we're doing it as well. And once all those are torqued to spec, that's going to do for the installation of your topper. You're ready to hit the trails and keep everything in the back of your Gladiator safe.